So I want to start doing a series of videos that has to do with stored trauma and kind of what modalities I've used to work through my own, and also what goes into the type of healing that I do. And I know these won't be for everybody, so I'm going to let you know now with this one. Every single one that I do like this is going to have some kind of a title, so you can always skip them. My cat's being a hoe right now. See, she is. She's mean too. She'll like claw at me and bite me if I'm not paying attention to her. So anyway, I want you guys to know that, because I know this isn't going to be for everybody, and eventually I might have enough to do its own section or something, but I really don't right now. So today I want to talk to you about what is stored trauma, or if I use the phrase trapped emotion, which I do in a lot of my content, what that actually means. And this is actually really, really important if you're on your own healing journey, or even maybe you don't feel like you need to heal from something, because too often we feel like that is, you have to go through some heavy shit for that to happen, and that's not the case. Maybe though you're dealing with learning to regulate your nervous system, or coming out of some super intense job and just learning how to chill the fuck out. Like, it's all the same stuff. Okay, so what is stored trauma, and what are trapped emotions? Every day we go through different situations, and whether it's us as a child that isn't allowed to say what we want to say, or work through the emotional process to find the other side. Maybe we get really mad about something, and an adult says, you know, shut up, don't cry about that, I'll give you something to cry about. Or maybe they say, that's not a big deal, you need to be quiet. Or maybe as an adult, we're in the grocery store and we're walking down an aisle and somebody says something smart and it really triggers us, right? And we're not in a situation where either we have the awareness or we have the time to fully emotionally process this thing. When that situation comes up, what can happen is that our somatic nervous system actually takes account of this. It wants to keep us safe, and so it stores a memory in our body of this situation. And so we trap effectively that trauma, that trapped emotion, that situation that we were in. We store that memory of that. This is something that I've come across in every healing modality that I've personally participated in. What I love about coming to the point of dealing with somatics is that it's given me the science behind it, instead of just the woo-woo spirituality or whatever kind of mumbo-jumbo section of that. So in the healing dance that I learned first, the very first thing that actually brought me into starting to get body awareness and starting to work on myself and work through the fairly complex trauma that I actually went through, we would talk about it all the time, and I wanted to tell people about it. But if you go telling people, oh, I'm releasing trapped emotions with my dance, they kind of look at you sideways, and it's because you don't have that background. I got into energy healing, and what I do is called emotion code, body code, and it's based around finding these experiences in the body and releasing the trapped emotions and the stored trauma and the subconscious programs, which is a really big thing that we have picked up through this lifetime, and quite frankly through others too, if that's how you want to look at it. Not everybody does body code that way. I'm a little weird. So somatics is the same thing. We talk about how we over our lifetime have been conditioned to store certain things in our body. And what happens when we store this stuff, right? We create pain. We create different physical sensations. We create things like anxiety and anger, sadness, depression. So because we're in this space where we're not able to fully emotionally process a situation, whether it's because of how we were raised or whether it's just a freak moment in the grocery store with a stranger and you can't like let your anger out, right? These things get trapped in our body. Over time, different things can develop. So, you know, for me personally, the big thing that I had was physical pain. I developed really severe migraines. My migraines actually started when I was about 3. And I only know that because of body code. I just know that I had them my whole life before that. And they got progressively worse. And then as an adult, once I got past this traumatic, the traumatic relationships that I was in, I started to, beyond that, develop this situation where my whole body would tense up. And I would kind of feel like I'd been hit by a bus or something for like a week straight. And then it would finally release. And I was on muscle relaxers, and I was on migraine medication because of these situations. Going through and learning how to properly regulate your nervous system, and also learning how to go in through various modalities. You don't have to do it the way that I've done it, and actually pull out this trauma and release it. Allows you to go back through and start to release these issues that you're having. So for me, it was pain. Before that, it was anxiety and depression that I was working through. Very severe anxiety. And, it could be an anger problem that you have. It could be panic attacks. All of this is coming from your somatic nervous system and from what you're storing in your body. Something that we need to remember when we're dealing with this, and I will get into how to process trapped emotions and stuff like that, but obviously I've taken this far enough. When we're dealing with things like trauma, there is no such thing as a big T or a little t trauma. Sometimes the big thing that we think is going to be huge and affect us the most is actually the thing we were able to process ourselves through, and while it might be affecting us, it won't be so severe. The things that might get us the most are that time as a kid when you really wanted to cry because your pet died, but somebody told you needed to suck it up and not cry about it because it wasn't a big deal. Or when your balloon flew away and you were 3 and that was the first time you experienced loss. So be kind to yourself. If you know that something's coming up, if you know that there's something going on, it doesn't matter what the experience. It doesn't matter if you look and say, like, my life is awesome. It's really great. I shouldn't be feeling these things. We don't get to choose what it is that causes this within us. What's important is that we learn to release it. Because every time we go through and we release these bits and pieces, we become a wholer version of ourselves, and we find that we are not triggered as often. We are not depressed as often. We're not as angry. We're not as sad. And we're more able to handle things as they are brought into our awareness. We're not going to be walking in the grocery store and get triggered. If somebody's acting a fool in the aisle next to us, we're going to see it and be like, well, they're having a bad day. And be able to go about our business without triggering ourselves or without causing harm to the people around us, like our kids or our families. So that is a summation of trapped emotions and stored trauma. And I'm going to do a lot more of these because I want you to really get an understanding of what it is so that you can start to work through these things yourself.